Okay, so let's just get started with this. What is it about singing that you feel in your soul?
It's a beautiful way to express yourself, and it's always been something that I've gravitated to. I think for me growing up, I was always very shy and very, very, very hidden, and I wanted to be invisible, and singing for me was my really good, clear way of expressing myself. And so that's always been one of the big reasons why I've loved it, but I've also really been fascinated with its ability to tell stories in a way that create a different picture for every person. So if you listen or you play one song, you can kind of create your own play, your own picture, and somebody else experiencing something very different in their life, they can create something else. And so you can have one song that speaks to many, many, many different people on many, many different levels. And I've always just loved that.
Well, now you're speaking to more people than ever, right?
That's really weird. Yeah, it's been amazing to have this opportunity. I never would have believed that I would do something like this, but I'm very blessed. I'm very excited.
How has this show changed your life in just the last couple of weeks?
Well, it's really hard to put a pin on it. It's just been very different. I've been performing for a long time, and it's not a new experience to sing on a stage, but on a stage that big is very terrifying. Like I said, I like to be hidden, you know, it's not a part of my personality to be like, hey, look at me. It's just not. So pushing myself was the biggest reason for this show. I wanted to push myself to do something I was afraid of for the benefit of other people. I wanted to encourage other people. So the change that happened over the last week, 2 weeks, is that I feel like I'm finally speaking to other people, and they're communicating with me about their lives and their stories and the things that they're struggling with, and we're creating a community of people who realize that the world is harsh and we need to be together. We need to encourage each other, and that has been the biggest change. I feel like I'm doing what I was meant to do this whole time.
It's amazing how our dreams, we have an idea of what they are, what we should be, and sometimes God has a different plan for how that will come about.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about your faith, your prayers before and your prayers now?
I struggled a lot when I was first losing my hearing, not with the concept of God, just what to talk about, because I had prayed so much about making it stop, you know, give me back my hearing, but I really struggled with the idea of praying for strength and wisdom to deal with the situation. And I wanted to use God as a genie to fix my problem so my life was easier to deal with. And I really feel like that was a mistake. And once I started really figuring out what I needed instead of what I wanted, my prayers changed dramatically. So now I just pray for wisdom and strength to deal with whatever's going to happen, and for people to not try to change me. You know, I don't need you to pray for healing. If it's going to heal, it's going to heal. If it doesn't, I'm okay, and I need to be okay with that. Because I know that I'm not alone. Through this whole situation, I'm not alone, even though it's not the way I wanted it. It's okay.
You take me back to that time. Describe for me the day the music died.
I hit a wall, and it happened. It's odd that it happened in one day, because it's not that my hearing left in one day, it's that my hearing had downgraded to a point where I couldn't get over one exam. And I was sitting in class, and I talked about this on AGT. I was sitting in class for dictation, which for music theory is very popular. You will see it, so practice now. But they play the piano and you chart it out. And I had my hearing aids on, but my hearing aids didn't help me with specific pitches. And so I couldn't tell what was happening. And so I was waiting for the test to start because there was a little bit of movement, a little bit of whatever, and I couldn't understand anything that was happening. So one by one, everybody was finishing their test and I was just waiting. And that was a day where I had to have a real conversation with my teacher, and without dictation, I was not able to pass theory 2. We're not even 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. I got stopped at the beginning. And then the issue with music history, with being able to listen and be able to tell what kind of music, where it's from, different instruments. Then the fact that I wanted to be a choral director, being able to hear the whole group and pinpoint where the issues are so we can fix it, so that we can be better as a group, it just wasn't going to be there. And I gave up. A lot of people asked me why I didn't fight for my position, that the school should have figured out a way. I was just struggling to breathe. I was just struggling to deal with depression. My thoughts changed from my dream dying. I watched it die, and I just didn't want to die myself. So it's like that day was the day the music died, but I had associated my identity with my dream. So that day was very much a death of myself, and I just didn't want to slip away.
Yeah, it sounds like the music is wrapped up in your soul, like it's rooted in your being.
Yeah.
Like an artist. It's just, it's hard to imagine. I like to paint. I can't imagine not being able to see what I've created.
Yeah. Well, and I know a blind painter does beautiful pictures, but you have to understand that if this is your dream, you need to say, okay, what do I really want? What's my actual dream? Is my dream vocal music education? And that's the only part. Or you say, my dream is music. How can I change my dream? If painting is really your love and you lose your vision, do you really lose painting? Maybe you lose being a teacher for other people in classes at that moment, but it doesn't mean that you can't paint. You just have to find beauty in what you can do and then understand a different perspective of it. For me, at the time, I had told myself I was only capable of one dream, and that was education. I didn't even open the world to the possibilities that I was capable of other dreams. And that was a big mistake for me.
What is your dream now? You have access to so much potential at this moment and in years to come.
That'd be so cool. Well, I mean, I want to create music. I want to write music. Even if that doesn't mean that I'm the one who's performing it, I want to write music for other people. I want to connect communities with the arts and connect those with kids in places all the way up through people at the VA, hospice, the hospital, people who we kind of forget about, and connect music to just help heal people in general. So I wanna sing as much as I can, but I wanna write. I wanna do the back stuff. I just wanna do music. I don't care which way. If that means learning a tambourine, I'll learn a tambourine. I just wanna be involved.
Yeah. The question I've had several people ask me when I told them I was coming to meet you is a 3-letter word, how? How do you do it?
It's work. It's not easy, and it's taken me a lot of time. I work 40 to 70 hours a week, every week, on just working on music. So you go from figuring out, looking at visual tuners, and then feeling placement of your throat, and then getting used to those vibrations as they change, as they rumble into your nasal cavity. You know you hit that note because it buzzes in a specific way if you pay attention to it. So finding that buzz and then seeing that note and then trying to hit it over and over and over again till you're confident. And then doing that every day, looking at sheet music every day with a tuner and singing sight reading notes, feeling music, starting from a balloon on your hands to get your fingers sensitive, to kicking off your shoes and feeling just the tempo through the floor of drums or a piano or your own voice, feeling that you are making a noise that travels through the ground and just paying attention to it. So much work. But if I didn't love music, I would never do that much work. Never. So much crazy work. But it's worth it. It's worth it for me. For writing songs, I have to trust other people. I'll write it out and I'll sing it into a recorder. And then I have to blindly send it off to somebody who can hear it, they can chart it out. Doesn't matter if it's good or horrifying. You have to be okay with the fact that you might send crap to somebody else and be like, they're gonna chart it anyway, then they're gonna send it back to me, and then I could see it be like, whoa, sorry buddy. But using a team, having a group of people who are supporting you. I do not do anything by myself. I have interpreters who help me communicate. I have my family who supports me just so that I can wake up in the morning and not feel like I'm lost. You know, so many people involved in my life.
When you open yourself up to all these people, you know, you really become exposed.
Yeah.
You reveal yourself in some way, don't you?
You have to be comfortable with failure. And I think that that's something that society has told us, that if you can't succeed, if you will fail at something, then don't try. And for me, I fail every day. And every time you fail, you learn something about yourself, and you grow and you change and you adapt. And if you're not willing to fail, you're not really willing to succeed either. So I really hope that people will take my little story of my life and say, she fails a lot. She gets up, she fails again. She gets up, she fails again. She gets up, oh, she succeeded that time, and then she failed again. It was like the same day that you get the golden buzzer and the confetti. It's also the same day that I woke up and I didn't have an alarm go off, so I was late, and then somebody was shouting at me to hold the elevator door closed, and I didn't hear them, so I saw them come right as it closed off, and they screamed profanity at me because I was such a rude person. And you know, there's all this stuff that you don't see that I fail at all the time that I have to just be comfortable with.
How has your relationship with God, is it stronger today? Has it changed?
Oh, absolutely. I think any time that you're in a situation where you struggle, you have two choices. You can allow it to swallow you, or you can grow from it. And with my relationship, it's not only that it's grown, but I'm a lot more comfortable with struggle in general. And I have a huge benefit of having my family who's very faith-oriented and grew up that way. I grew up being surrounded by people who have a huge heart for God. So no matter what happens, good, bad, no matter what, I have that backbone of my life. And none of this is important. The fame or winning a show, none of that is important. It's important that I'm using the gifts that I have for the best that I can to glorify God.
What else do you want us to know?
I don't know. Well, I know that they didn't use it because for AGT you have to use a shortened version of your song. But something that not a lot of people know is that verse 2 of Try is written about my relationship with God. So like each verse is for a different group. And the second verse is just about me talking with God. So I don't love the way I need to. You need more, and I know that much is true. So I'll fight for our breakthrough, and I'll breathe in you again. I was saying that it's not that I didn't believe in God for a moment, but I really struggled with talking with him and showing him respect. And I wanted to get back to doing that the right way. And so I've gotten back to doing it for a while now, but that verse is really special to me because it's just honest. Like, my life's not the way I want it to be, but my relationship with God's not where it needs to be either. And both of those things need to change.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there something else?
Where do we find that whole song?
It's on Amazon Music, right? I've been listening to it.
Amazon, iTunes,
Is there a
I have
video or just
albums.
audio?
And it's funny, I actually wrote it just right before we recorded that album. So it was like sneaked added on. That's why All of Me has 17 songs instead of 16 like my first two albums, because we wanted to add it in. And I wasn't sure about it because I just wrote it and they're like, yes. And so we just did. The band that I used, they hardly even practiced it at all. That's just live, just us playing.
That's great, terrific.
So.
Wow. Yeah.
Did she bring her ukulele today?
Do you have any, other
I'm
instruments?
not allowed to play anything because it's biased to you, because I've been told I'm not supposed to play for any interviews right now from
okay.
AGT, because they don't want it to affect other acts that can't show their talent in an interview.
Sure.
So, sorry.
Gotta be fair. It's exciting though.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I did not think I would be, because for such a long time, for the first episodes, they're filmed, and then if you get to the live shows, that's live. But the live shows are in August. So we filmed that episode in April, like April 8th. We were the first day of filming. And Tyra had not been hired yet. So it was the first day, and I was one of the beginning acts for the evening section. And Simon was like, I promised myself I was not going to hit this the first day of filming. Shaboosh. But immediately, you can't tell anybody.
Right.
You have to act like it didn't happen. So it's been like 2 months of convincing myself that it's not real. And then it came out, and that person that you see on the TV or on the video, that doesn't look like me. For me, it's hard to remember that that's actually, that was happening. That's real. That's me. So that hasn't hit me yet. So we'll see how long it takes.
What did she think about
Before it's correct.
Simon before, and what does she think about Simon now?
I always really liked Simon because he was very honest and straightforward, and of anybody judging, it meant a lot more coming from Simon, because he's not just going to give me a pity vote. He's going to listen to my singing, is going to listen to the song and judge me fairly. And that's really what I wanted, because I don't see myself as the deaf girl who has a really cute story, sad kitten. I'm a musician, and I want people to see me as a musician. And I've never seen a reason why being deaf should stop you from doing anything. You are deaf or you're not, who cares? Live your dreams. You can do anything that you want,
Yeah. Do you feel the music differently? I mean, I know you could hear it and feel it before, but
Oh, I pay attention to it a lot differently. Now the lyrics are really important. And so people send me music all the time to learn new songs, and if the lyrics are not good, like if they don't mean anything important or they're just about like sex or drugs or something, I won't even learn it. Sorry. I wanna use the space in my brain for something worthwhile, but the words are really a lot more important, and I feel music very differently. So now it's a very different experience. You feel it, and then you can feel it build, and so you're like, oh, I see what they're trying to do there. I understand that. So I pay a lot more attention, and it's not a skill set that's you have to be deaf to understand. You just need to pay attention. Yeah.
Very cool. What else? Anything else? Beth,
How
do you
bad
have
does she
anything?
want to win?
I don't care. I don't care if I win or lose at this point, really. I mean, it would be awesome to win, of course, but I've pushed myself in ways I didn't think that I could, and that's a win in itself. So I'm happy.
Wonderful. I mean, it's the day the music died, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that I don't know. It must have made you so sad. I can't even
Sad.
imagine. Yeah, very sad.
Well, it's one of those moments that you hope will never happen. And when it happens, you just hope it's not real. But it is, and you just have to deal with it. And it was a horrible time in my life that I never will really forget.
Do you see people and their feelings and their struggle? I don't know, their struggle. Do you see that differently? I mean, everybody has a struggle.
Yeah. That's part of the human experience. I think that now that I've lived through several, like losing my hearing was just one of the things that I've dealt with in my life. But anytime you struggle, you see it in other people. You can see it in their eyes when they're struggling. And you know when you meet another person who's struggling to breathe, you see it. And you just have more empathy for that person. So I feel like my empathy has grown for others, and I think that that's been a really beautiful thing to change in my life, because it changes my music. It makes me want to be more helpful to other people.
We were talking about those moments where you pivot, and it's that struggle forces you to see things, but then shift your perspective into a new frame.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, we were talking about vanity or just perspective can really change perspective. I
Yeah.
like that. It changes. Those moments really, or those things in our lives, it can make you better. But you really do see the world differently. Do you see the world as bigger or smaller?
Kind of both. I mean, you see that the world is huge, but people in general, very, very small. Like, we're not hard to communicate with. People are in your lives every day. So now that you see it, you see how many people are around you, how many people's lives could be struggling at that moment, and it's overwhelming. But at the same time, they're right there. They're within touch. Any time you walk out your front door and you see a person, you have an opportunity to wave, to give them a little brightness of their day. They're right there. And in that way, the world is very small, especially if every person is aware of it and trying to improve life. We could change the world in a day if we took the time.
Did she know how talented she was before AGT, and what was her reaction when she got the reaction for the crowd?
I not really cared that much about how I sound. In my head, I still sound like an 18-year-old who was scared to perform by herself. So it's very breathy, very weak. But now I'm just focused on the math. I'm focused on the intervals and the beats and connecting with the audience, that if it's good, it's good. If it's not, I tried. It will be what it will be, and I cannot change that. The only thing I can do is to continue to work hard. And so that's why I wasn't nervous when I walked on the stage, because in my mind, it's like, this could easily go either way. The only thing I have control over is myself. And so just concentrate on your job and concentrate on why you wrote that song to begin with.
When the crowd went crazy, what did you think?
Could you feel the vibration?
Oh, that was scary for me, because I was feeling the beat with the boys, Alfred and Daniel. And when people started screaming, it rumbled the stage, and I lost tempo with the other band members. So I was like, well, they're just gonna follow me, because there's nothing I can do at this point. The floor is shaking, and I can't tell what that is. So it was really wild.
When did you start learning to sign?
I started learning ASL when I left CSU, so I took a couple of classes at a community college in Longmont, Front Range Community College, and then did a lot of deaf socials and silent weekends and stuff like that. My ex was actually deaf, and so I had the opportunity to sign a lot. I'm still learning, obviously, but everybody is still learning. You can always learn more. So I want to improve. It's difficult for me because I grew up English, so I have the biggest trouble with getting rid of the English grammar and focusing on the ASL aspect of it. So I'm always a mix, more signed English than anything else.
The people who are deaf, or the people hard of hearing, there is that culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that culture and that connecting, it's fascinating. I imagine that you have had a lot of people reach out to you to connect. Like you said, you can kind of reach out and touch them now online. You have this influence in just a few minutes on television.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a beautiful thing, and I want to make sure that I'm here to communicate back. So there are a lot of messages. I'm trying to answer them all. Right now, I'm a little overwhelmed. So I'm doing my best. But yeah, I've been surprised at how loving people have been.
That's great. All right.
Someone once said, when you're happy, you hear the music, and when you're sad, you feel the lyrics. She's like the embodiment of that.
That's
I'm sorry, the
really
last part, what did
The
you
embodiment.
say? Oh.
Except I'm not sad all the time, which is great. It's taken me a long time to not be sad. Very long time. And it still hits me from time to time. But it's like any kind of death. You never really get over it. You just continue.
Yeah. That's fair. But do you have a new goal in your sights, or something that you'd like to try that's different?
I really want to write choral music. I think that would be really challenging and really hard for me, but I really want to. And I want to do collaborations more. Like, I really love singing and signing. So I'm hoping that maybe the next time I'm on AGT, I might not play the ukulele so I can sign and sing at the same time, but I really like harmony. So I want to work more with other musicians and figure out the best ways to create that balance, which is really hard without sound. Like, you have to really pay attention to how loud they're singing and their shapes of vowels and stuff. So I think that's going to be a challenge that's going to take me a little bit, but I'm happy to work hard, so that helps. I'm trying to learn a little bit of drums, and I plunk at the piano and other instruments, but not very well. It's hard for me to really sit and dedicate more time to music and practicing something that I don't get a lot of benefit from. But for me, most of my problem is my hands and my arms. They hurt really bad. So like playing the ukulele, it hurts because of just how my body is. And so I can only play for a limited amount of time, then I have to take a break.
Right.
And then I have to put it away and then come back to it a little while later and then practice a little bit, play a couple more songs, then set it down, put it away.
Right.
So that's a limitation. That's frustrating, but you just deal with it.
We were talking about the world being bigger or really small. It is interesting when you start to really think about human frailty, how small we really are. How do you see your gift and your prayer, what you want right now for your place in this world while you're here?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. I just want to use the gifts that I have to the fullest. I don't want to die and have a bunch of things that just sat inside of me that I wasted. So, however it's helpful to other people, it's awesome. However, and it doesn't have to be on TV. It doesn't have to be with a bunch of people looking at it. It could be something very small, just with one person that nobody ever knows about later, you know?
Yeah.
Just as long as I use my gifts.